fame, champagne, and wild debauchery. This was the backdrop for one of Hollywood's most infamous scandals. It involved one of the silent film era's biggest stars and a young actress on the brink of stardom. But it all ended in tragedy at a San Francisco hotel, leaving behind a century of mystery. Two lives were forever changed in a single horrifying moment, and the truth behind the event is far darker than most imagine. In this video, we explore the question: who was Virginia Rappe, the beautiful actress whose life ended in a shocking and gruesome way? On September 9, 1921, Virginia Rappe died at just 30 years old. Only days earlier, the model, fashion designer, and silent film actress had attended a Labor Day party at the St. Francis Hotel in San Francisco. There, she had an ill-fated encounter with Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle, the era's leading comedic actor, in the now infamous room 1219. The aftermath was devastating. Virginia was found severely injured, and her death was surrounded by mystery and scandal, with even medical professionals baffled by the unusual internal injuries she suffered. What followed was a tangle of conspiracy, corruption, and medical malpractice that still echoes today. While Arbuckle remains infamous as a disgraced silent film star, Virginia Rappe's story is often overlooked or misunderstood. Who was this enigmatic woman, vilified and forgotten, whose life ended in such a tragic and public way? Let's take a closer look at Virginia Rappe, a young woman who came to Hollywood chasing dreams of fame, but instead faced a grim and untimely fate. Virginia Rappe was born on July 7, 1891 in Chicago, Illinois, to Mabel Rappe, a single mother who occasionally worked as a chorus girl and relied on her beauty to support herself. Virginia's early life was marked by hardship. When her mother died, leaving her orphaned at just 11 years old, Virginia was raised by her grandmother and aunt. Despite these challenges, she was ambitious and passionate about sports, dancing, and fashion. At 16, Virginia began her modeling career, adding an E to her last name to create the more sophisticated Rappe. Her striking beauty, with dark hair and sharp features, quickly caught attention. By the age of 18, she was already modeling for local artists and designers. As an adult, she moved to San Francisco, where she built a successful career in the burgeoning fashion industry. San Francisco's fashion scene was still in its infancy, but Virginia's talent and determination allowed her to thrive in this emerging field. She became a prominent figure in fashion shows across the United States and Europe, earning a solid income and gaining recognition for her promotional skills. Virginia embodied the spirit of the modern flapper, bold, stylish, and independent, paving the way for a new generation of women in a society still bound by restrictive norms. She made headlines alongside her friend Helen Patterson for their wild fashion choices. One report described them as a great display of pink pantalettes reminiscent of the 5 zeros through the generous slits of their skirts. Virginia's interviews and stories frequently appeared in the press, offering advice to other ambitious young women. "Be original. Every girl can be that," she once said. In 1914, Virginia expanded her talents into designing clothes and hats, introducing pieces that were both themed and avant-garde. Among her designs were a tuxedo coat, a spiderweb hat with a transparent wide brim, a submarine hat ideal for driving, and a peace hat designed like dove wings. This hat was inspired by her pacifist views and talks of the U.S. entering World War I. Virginia was quoted saying, "The women of America want world peace. If we believe in peace, why wear military jackets and soldier caps?" This was quite a radical position at the time. Her belief that fashion should echo personal convictions was uncommon, to say the least. Newspapers hailed her as an artist, using clothes as her medium of expression. She was talented, and beginning to look like she was turning into a classic rags-to-riches story of the early part of the American century. But in reality, there were wolves lying in wait for Virginia. Privately, Virginia's life was filled with tumultuous romances and engagements. At first, she was engaged to sculptor John Sample, who abruptly ended their engagement. Then she got engaged to Argentine diplomat Alberto Dline, whom she later admitted was too old for her. This was followed by an engagement to Robert Moskowitz, a dress designer. Tragically, her relationship with Moskowitz ended when he died after being run down by a trolley car. By 1916, sensing a decline in her fashion career, Virginia decided to move to Hollywood to pursue acting. She landed a few minor roles before getting a significant part in Paradise Garden in 1917 alongside Harold Lockwood, where she played a so-called mild vamp. She also appeared in the anti-German film Over the Rhine, which was later somewhat cynically released in 1922 as The Isle of Love to leverage her posthumous infamy and Rudolph Valentino's fame. Virginia then appeared in several comedy shorts directed mostly by Henry Lehrman, one of the most prominent figures of the early silent era. Her relationship with Lehrman, which began around 1918, boosted her opportunity to play comedic roles. They kept their connection discreet and worked alongside stars like Lloyd Hamilton and Ford Sterling. Virginia was even named the best-dressed girl in pictures as she appeared in a dozen successful comedies directed by and sometimes co-starring Lehrman. This included a picture called Joey Loses His Sweetheart, which prominently starred Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle alongside Virginia. By 1919, Virginia was in a relationship with Lehrman, ensuring steady work in Hollywood. They planned to marry by 1920 and lived together. It seemed her dream of stardom was being realized, and William Fox of 20th Century Fox fame was taken by her enough to offer her a contract, and was said to be planning to give her the lead in a Fox feature named A Twilight Baby. However, by the following year, her relationship with Lehrman was deteriorating, and her list of former lovers had set people talking. By now, her reputation in Hollywood was less than favorable, to put it mildly. Known as a woman with loose morals within a community that was already pushing the boundaries of social acceptability. Rumors were rampant about her past, including several abortions by the age of 16 and giving up a baby for adoption. In late 1920, Virginia's personal life took another turn. She started seeing director Jack White, but when he moved to New York, Virginia found herself dealing with an unwanted pregnancy. Hoping to avoid the prying eyes and wagging tongues of Hollywood, her manager Al Semnacher suggested she get an abortion in San Francisco, where their secret would be safer. Since she needed to travel north and Al Semnacher had plans that weekend with a woman named Bambina Maud Delmont, he arranged for Virginia to join him on September 3rd. The exact reasons for their stay at the hotel remain unclear, but it seems Semnacher saw it as a chance for Virginia to potentially steer her career in a better direction amidst the personal and professional struggles she was facing. Alternatively, some speculate she was brought to entertain male guests at a secret Hollywood party under Delmont's guidance. The truth about why Virginia was there may never be fully known due to the conflicting accounts. What is known, however, is a series of events surrounding her ill-fated trip to San Francisco over Labor Day weekend in September 1921. That weekend, San Francisco attracted many visitors seeking a break, including Fatty Arbuckle, who was worn out from filming 3 movies over the summer. Arbuckle decided to head to San Francisco to relax, despite his producer, Adolph Zukor, urging him to stay in Hollywood for an exhibitors' convention. Arbuckle prioritized relaxation over work, much to Zukor's frustration. By this time, Arbuckle was at the peak of his career, having signed a lucrative contract in 1916 with the Kami Film Corporation as both an actor and director. However, Arbuckle's first brush with scandal had occurred in March 1917, following a studio banquet in Boston. Arbuckle claimed he retired early that evening, but the party continued at Cloverleaf Inn, a tavern and brothel. A passerby, outraged after peeking through a window, called the police. Rumors of an orgy quickly spread, with Arbuckle allegedly involved in wild behavior. The gossip was damaging enough to prompt a raid by the mayor, and Zukor intervened to cover up the story by paying a large sum to prevent it from going national. Fast forward to Labor Day 1921, Arbuckle, whose marriage had ended and who had just signed a $3 million contract with Paramount, drove to San Francisco with actor Lowell Sherman and director Fred Fishbach in his new Pierce Arrow. They checked into the St. Francis Hotel, reserving 3 suites on the 12th floor. Arbuckle had considered canceling the trip after suffering second-degree burns to his buttocks from sitting on an acid-soaked rag at an auto shop in Los Angeles. However, Fishbach arranged for a cushioned rubber ring to make the journey more comfortable, and they proceeded to the hotel, where Fishbach had booked adjoining rooms and a suite. The weekend included sightseeing and visiting friends, but by Monday, the stage was set for one of Arbuckle's infamous parties. These gatherings typically included alcohol, drugs, and women. Despite prohibition, Fishbach secured alcohol through a bootlegger, and the guest list quickly grew. Among the attendees was film talent manager Al Semnacher, who brought along Bambina Maud Delmont, notorious for her history of blackmail, fraud, and prostitution, as well as Virginia Rappe. What was Virginia doing in such company, and how did she end up in Arbuckle's suite? The answer remains unclear, but 2 main theories emerged during the trial. Arbuckle insisted it was all a series of innocent coincidences. Virginia happened to be there and was simply invited to the party. Others, however, claimed that Arbuckle had been pursuing Virginia for years, ever since she caused Joey to lose his sweetheart and enlisted the infamous Delmont to bring her to him. Allegedly, Delmont used methods bordering on coercion to carry this out. She seemed close to Arbuckle, even calling him MTI, which implied a level of familiarity and camaraderie. The 2 likely exchanged personal stories from their lives in Los Angeles and beyond, but Arbuckle never addressed her as Bambina, nor did she get the chance to call him Toti. Their acquaintance, it seems, was brief. Delmont was known for her drinking and bluntness. Later, she described Virginia as sincere and genuine, saying, "I like that girl." However, her later comments suggested a more complex role, portraying herself as someone with hidden motives rather than merely a friend. She admitted, "I had taken Virginia there and was responsible for her going," referring to the trip to San Francisco and the events that followed. Meanwhile, Semnacher and his group arrived at the Oakland Ferry Terminal around 10 p.m. on Sunday, September 4. By 11 p.m., they had checked into the Palace Hotel, choosing a 2-bedroom suite at $8 per night, a more economical choice than the $12 rate for similar rooms at the St. Francis Hotel. This was a practical yet stylish decision for the cost-conscious Semnacher. The suite had interconnected rooms, one for Semnacher and the other shared by Virginia and Delmont. Their suite was a few floors below the room of Virginia's only known San Francisco acquaintance, Semnacher al-Semnacher, recently back from France following a high-profile divorce, might have been the reason Virginia believed she came to San Francisco. His only recorded visit to their room was early the next morning to discuss breakfast plans. Around 10:00 to 10:30 a.m., they made their way to the lobby. They may have passed Maxfield Parrish's painting, The Pied Piper in the Bar, a haunting image of children being led to the point of no return. Semnacher, likely stopping at the front desk for messages, appeared to be an impressive figure flanked by 2 attractive women as they moved into the garden court. The Palace Hotel's lounge and dining area, located on the 1st floor, retains its century-old elegance to this day. Breakfast and lunch were served beneath an ornate gilded skylight made of opaque glass, complemented by gleaming crystal chandeliers. The resulting light was soft yet ample, illuminating the space filled with potted palms and blooming flowers, creating the feel of dining outdoors. The serene ambiance was shaped by subdued conversations, the polite tones of attentive waiters, and the gentle clinking of silverware and plates. As Semnacher and his group were guided by a waiter to their table at the garden court, the atmosphere shifted around them. Against the white tablecloths, Virginia stood out in her pale green outfit, a stark contrast to Delmont's more subdued black dress. Reports and court testimony described what Rappe wore on September 5. One detailed account, presented to a coroner's jury, portrayed her attire vividly. It consisted of 3 yards of heavy crepe in jade green, a 2-piece skirt gathered at the waist, and a sleeveless blouse that hung straight over it. The blouse featured wide, corded armholes, a modestly cut neckline, and a soft collar. For sleeves, she wore long white ones from a simple silk shirt, costing just $5 at the time, a sharp contrast to the extravagant, highly designed clothing of the era. The ensemble, accented by ivory and jade tones, contained a subtle touch of showgirl flair. Black lace ruffles secured with a green ribbon flower around silk elastic, hidden beneath the outfit. At the garden court, Ira Gustave Fort Louis, a guest described as a traveling salesman specializing in fashion, noticed Rappe and admired her outfit. However, he reportedly thought she looked like someone who might want to make money. Fort Louis would later recount key events to detectives, stating he had arrived in town on Sunday, September 4, 1921. He contacted Fischbach at the St. Francis Hotel but did not get a response until the next morning. At around 11 a.m., on September 5th, as he left the Palace Hotel, Fort claimed to have seen Rappe, learned she was a film actress, and passed the information to Fischbach at the St. Francis. Fischbach subsequently invited Rappe to a party, though the invite was later attributed to Arbuckle. Semnacher, planning to return to Los Angeles that afternoon, had some hours to spare with the others. They were open to new activities, and by 11:30 a.m., Rappe received a note delivered by a hotel page. Signed simply Arbuckle, it invited her to come on up and say hello. Rappe also received a phone call from the hotel desk, further shaping her plans. Although the identity of the caller was a mystery for weeks, Fred Fischbach was ultimately revealed to have arranged Rappe's involvement. Around noon, Semnacher brought his car around and drove Rappe and Delmont from the Palace to the St. Francis. According to him, he dropped them off at the hotel entrance and left, though he later contradicted this by claiming he stayed briefly to ensure they could leave if the party wasn't to their liking. Before stepping out of the car, Rappe promised Semnacher, "If the party's no good, I'll be back in 20 minutes." Giving Arbuckle and his group a short window the length of a comedy film to win her over. However, Rappe ended up staying. As the party progressed, Fischbach left, claiming he had other obligations. The gathering quickly escalated, growing to include over 20 guests. Activities became increasingly debauched. Guests consumed gin-laced orange blossoms, some removed their tops to dance the shimmy, others disappeared into back rooms for intimate encounters, and the number of empty liquor bottles grew. Allegedly, drugs were also available. Delmont, heavily intoxicated, ended up locked in Sherman's suite with him. Meanwhile, Virginia became ill. According to one version of events, she started screaming uncontrollably and undressing. Others claimed she was simply drunk when Arbuckle moved her to another suite, allegedly declaring, "This is the chance I've been waiting for." However, in the accepted account supported by 3 subsequent manslaughter trials, Rappe fell gravely ill during the party. With Delmont locked in Sherman's room and no available bathroom, tensions escalated further. Arbuckle was unaware of what had happened when he went to his bathroom and found Virginia severely ill. Seeing her in distress, he helped her to the bed and suggested she rest while he fetched some ice, hoping it would soothe her. He tested her reaction to the cold by placing ice on her thigh to see if it would calm her hysteria. However, others later claimed he placed the ice in a more intimate area, alleging this might have caused her death due to a sharp object puncturing her bladder. Fischbach returned to the room just as Arbuckle was applying the ice. At this moment, Virginia reportedly cried out that she was dying, a statement overheard by several female guests. Delmont claimed that Virginia, nearly naked and writhing in pain, cried, "I'm dying. I'm dying. He hurt me." Alice Blake, a showgirl and colleague of Delmont, testified during the trial that Virginia's clothes were shredded beyond recognition, and the room appeared to be in complete disarray. Believing Virginia was hysterical, the group filled a bathtub with cold water to calm her. Virginia briefly became alert and accused Arbuckle, telling him to stay away and questioning Delmont about what had been done to her. After being placed in the cold bath, Virginia seemed to settle down temporarily. She was then moved to her own room, room 1227, with Arbuckle covering the cost. The hotel doctor later assessed Virginia and concluded she was simply drunk. Despite the commotion, the party continued. Arbuckle briefly left the hotel to arrange for his car's return to Los Angeles, planning to travel back by boat. When he returned, he found another doctor treating Virginia with morphine. The doctors reassured Arbuckle that she would recover. Meanwhile, Delmont was telling law enforcement a different story. She claimed Arbuckle appeared dressed in pajamas and wearing Virginia's hat at a jaunty angle, allegedly saying, "Go in and get her dressed and take her to the palace. She makes too much noise." Delmont also claimed Arbuckle threatened to throw Virginia out the window when she kept screaming. Arbuckle, however, seemed unaware of the damaging narrative Delmont was spreading. On September 6th, the day after the incident, Arbuckle settled the hotel bill for himself and his group. Virginia was attended by 3 doctors: Dr. Olaf Carbo, Dr. Arthur Beardsley, the hotel doctor, and Dr. Melville Ramwell, who was an acquaintance of Delmont. They administered morphine regularly to manage her pain, which was a common practice at the time. Dr. Beardsley also performed a catheterization on Virginia after one of the morphine doses. Additionally, 3 nurses, Jean Jameson, Vera Cumberland, and Martha Hamilton, cared for her, providing treatments such as hot compresses, enemas, and other interventions. Initially, it was believed that Virginia's condition was due to excessive alcohol consumption and possibly a kidney infection. Dr. Ramwell later stated that Virginia had been unconscious in room 1219 and woke up in severe pain with no memory of the events. Nurse Jameson testified that Virginia believed her condition was caused by intimate relations with her partner and repeatedly expressed concern about what could have been broken inside of me. Jameson also noted that Virginia had been experiencing abdominal pain for 6 weeks and was anxious to keep the details of the party from reaching Lehrman, her partner. Nurse Cumberland reported that Virginia admitted her encounter with Arbuckle was inappropriate, but did not clarify whether it was consensual. Virginia also expressed worry about Lehrman finding out. While she didn't explicitly blame Arbuckle for her condition, she seemed to expect him to cover her hospital expenses. On September 8, 1921, Dr. Ramwell noticed a severe decline in Virginia's health, marked by increased abdominal pain and swelling. He arranged for her to be transferred to Dr. W. Francis Wakefield's private sanitarium, where he had privileges. At the sanitarium, Virginia was treated with a Murphy drip and given morphine. However, her condition deteriorated by evening, and it was determined she would not survive surgery. Virginia passed away on September 9, 1921, just 1 day before the first anniversary of the sensational death of Olive Thomas in a Paris hotel. Later that day, an unauthorized autopsy was conducted by Dr. William O'Fulls, with assistance from Dr. Ramwell and a nurse. The autopsy revealed no evidence of sexual assault, but noted bruising on Virginia's arms and thighs. Upon inspecting her internal organs, the team found a tear in her bladder and damage to the bladder wall. Her organs were placed in specimen jars. Dr. O'Fulls described the bladder injury as a clean rupture. This evidence was nearly destroyed when San Francisco Deputy Coroner Michael Brown received a strange call from the hospital. Acting on it, he rushed over and caught an orderly trying to dispose of the jars in the hospital incinerator. Brown saved the specimens, and an examination confirmed Virginia's cause of death was a ruptured bladder leading to peritonitis. This apparent cover-up, allegedly instigated by Zukor, led to a police investigation. The media sensationalized the story with exaggerated headlines such as "Fatty Arbuckle Sought in Orgy Death." Newspapers published outlandish claims supplied by Maud Delmont, painting Arbuckle as a monstrous figure responsible for Virginia's tragic death. These stories dredged up previous allegations of violence and misconduct against Arbuckle, portraying him as the villain in a tale that captivated the public. Arbuckle, a beloved comedian known as Fatty, had earned fame for wholesome comedy in films like The Balloon Attic, In an era before body shaming, his jovial, rotund image symbolized good-natured fun. Now his reputation was shattered by accusations linking him to Virginia's death during a supposed wild party. Wild rumors circulated, including claims that he injured her using a champagne or Coca-Cola bottle or even a shard of ice. The media perpetuated these salacious details, blaming his rejected advances or even his physical size for her injuries and death. Public outrage erupted. Protesters boycotted Arbuckle's films and staged disruptive demonstrations at screenings. Some incidents turned violent. Feminist activists tore down screens showing his comedies. Cowhands in Thermopolis, Wyoming, shot at the screen during a showing, and others hurled eggs and bottles at his image. The scandal became a tabloid goldmine. Hearst newspapers led the frenzy, boasting record sales and sensational headlines. They even likened the public's interest in Arbuckle's scandal to the emotional fervor surrounding the sinking of the Lusitania, which had spurred U.S. involvement in World War I, ironically, a cause Virginia had vehemently opposed as a pacifist. In an editorial cartoon titled "They Walked Into His Parlor," published in the San Francisco Examiner, Roscoe Arbuckle was depicted trapped in a giant spiderweb, holding 2 liquor bottles with 7 women caught around him. The public backlash was immediate and severe. Will Hayes ensured Arbuckle's films were removed from theaters, and Paramount suspended him under the morals clause of his contract. Arbuckle turned himself in to the authorities and spent 3 weeks in custody. A mugshot showed him looking despondent, a stark contrast to the cheerful persona that had endeared him to audiences. As rumors spread, Arbuckle remained silent while his legal team proclaimed his innocence, urging the public to wait for all the evidence before forming opinions. However, it became clear that Arbuckle needed to share his version of events, which sharply contradicted the account given by Maud Delmont. At the same time, Arbuckle's an associate known as Sugar reportedly tried to bribe San Francisco District Attorney Matt Brady with an exorbitant amount of money to drop the case. Brady, a man of integrity, was infuriated by the offer and reported it. Around this time, the media narrative began to shift, focusing on a harsh character assassination of Virginia Rappe, the woman at the center of the allegations. The trial began on November 14, 1921, with Arbuckle adamantly denying any wrongdoing. On the witness stand, Arbuckle appeared unemotional and expressed no remorse. His defense centered on Rappe's pre-existing health issues, such as chronic cystitis and her history of abdominal pain, which sometimes caused her to remove her clothing impulsively. Notably, Maud Delmont, the main accuser, never testified, a fact the defense emphasized to the jury. Arbuckle faced manslaughter charges, and the trial became a high-stakes opportunity for District Attorney Matt Brady, who saw the case as a potential career milestone. However, Brady encountered difficulties with Delmont, whose credibility was questioned. She alternated between claiming to be Rappe's lifelong friend and admitting she had only met her days before the party. Known as Madame Black, Delmont had a history of organizing parties where wealthy men were accused of sexual misconduct and then blackmailed into paying hush money. Telegrams she sent to lawyers in San Diego and Los Angeles revealed her intentions, stating, "We have Roscoe Arbuckle in a hole here. Chance to make some money out of him." In his testimony, Arbuckle carefully described his limited acquaintance with Rappe, portraying their relationship as casual and distancing himself from her presence in his hotel room on the day in question. The defense introduced medical testimony about Rappe's long-standing bladder condition, and the autopsy found no evidence of assault. Arbuckle refrained from tarnishing Rappe's reputation further, even withholding potentially damaging witness accounts. The doctor who initially treated Rappe dismissed the idea of an assault, though this point was heavily contested. The jury in Arbuckle's first trial leaned toward acquittal with a 10-2 vote. However, 2 subsequent trials ended in deadlocks. Finally, during the third trial, Arbuckle was fully acquitted. In an unusual gesture, the jury issued a formal apology, stating, "An acquittal is not enough for Roscoe Arbuckle. We feel a grave injustice has been done to him, and there was not the slightest proof to connect him in any way with the commission of any crime. In the aftermath of the scandal, the film industry, desperate to restore its reputation, hired Will Hayes as a full-time censor. Although Hayes eventually lifted the ban on Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle following his acquittal, the damage to Arbuckle's career and personal life was permanent. His close friend Buster Keaton stood by him throughout the ordeal and suggested that Arbuckle work under the pseudonym William Goodrich, informally known as Will B. Good. Using this alias, Arbuckle directed films in secret. Despite his efforts, he longed to return to acting, but the scandal haunted him. On the streets, people would mock him by whistling the popular song, "I'm Coming, Virginia." He struggled with financial difficulties and alcoholism. When Arbuckle died in 1933 at the age of 46, the stigma of the scandal still lingered. Virginia Rappe's ex-boyfriend, Henry Lehrman, remained bitter and expressed his disdain for Arbuckle, saying, "Virginia had the most remarkable determination. She would rise from the dead to defend her dignity. As for Arbuckle, this is what happens when you take vulgar people from the gutter, give them enormous salaries, and turn them into idols. Some people only find pleasure in beastly ways." Shortly before his death, a strange anecdote surfaced involving Arbuckle. He was pulled over by a traffic cop in Hollywood for driving erratically while drunk. Before being arrested, Arbuckle tossed a whiskey bottle out of the car window and joked, "There goes the evidence," laughing as he did so. The remark seemed to echo the infamous incident 12 years earlier, when a bottle of evidence was allegedly thrown from the window of room 1219. The mystery surrounding Virginia Rappe's sudden illness and death has sparked endless speculation over the years. Theories range from pre-existing health issues to the controversial ice theory. Some claimed the 225-pound Arbuckle crushed her to death, while others suggested a heroin overdose and speculated that the ice Arbuckle allegedly used was a known emergency treatment for opium overdoses. Another theory points to complications from dangerous and illegal abortions, which may have left Rappe with lasting internal injuries. It's also possible a catheter inserted by doctors caused her bladder to rupture. Whatever the truth, both Rappe's and Arbuckle's legacies were deeply tarnished by the scandal. There is no doubt that Virginia Rappe died a horrific and tragic death, and her dark, scandalous end cast a long shadow over Hollywood, one that persists to this day. Despite the efforts of moral enforcers like Will Hayes, rumors suggest that Rappe's spirit remains restless. At Hollywood Forever Cemetery, where she is buried, visitors have reported hearing a young woman weeping or crying out in pain near her simple grave. Rappe was a young woman from a difficult background, chasing the dream of Hollywood's glamour, freedom, and success. Tragically, her encounter with one of the industry's biggest stars led to a series of events that ended in pain, fear, and death.